Good evening, and welcome to another episode of The Fire Caves, a Star Trek podcast. My name is Perry.
And I'm your host, David. Tonight we're talking about Star Trek Voyager Season 2, Episode 5, Non Sequitur. Before we continue, you can find us on Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube as The Fire Caves, a Star Trek podcast.
That is correct. And as I say every single week, you should find us and follow us because we are great. We are awesome. We are a good time. And eventually, if you don't already, you will enjoy us. So come on through and join our conversation. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to throw them at us and we'll try our best to get to you to answer. Of course, always remember, please be polite. Otherwise, we'll just ignore you entirely. Um, now, as I don't know, David, you did say that we are doing the episode non sequitur, correct? Or no,
Yes.
you just okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, as David said, we are doing the episode non sequitur, but before we get into all that, we like to give each other a chance to catch up. And this could actually be a little bit more of an involved catch up because I actually haven't seen or talked to David in a good bit of time now. So, David, how has your 2 weeks been?
I've been fine. Last week, I wasn't able to spend as much time with you because I was dog sitting for a couple from church. Lovely little half poodle mix, very cute and sweet and obedient and not a problem dog at all. One of those dogs that I mean, poodles obviously are very nice because they don't shed like other dogs do, and she's small and she likes being with people, so she doesn't like run out of the house or make a fuss. She likes chasing the ball, so she was really easy to take care of. um, yeah, pretty pretty simple
Okay.
week for me. Yeah, how about you?
This has been one of the crazier 2 week time spans. We're coming up on the start of school, and my kid is transitioning from elementary to middle school. So there's a lot to do there. And, with that also comes, her recognizing that she is growing and changing. So we're having to deal with a lot of that. So it's just been this, I feel like a mad dash to make sure that we get everything. We got to get the clothes, we got to get the supplies, we've got to do all of the things. And I still feel like we're not totally where we need to be.
Right.
Also, my car is having a few issues. I was trying to get a different position at work, so there was a lot of that. Yeah, it's just been a lot of just things. Not to mention, I'm trying to keep the ball rolling on this um, writing project that you're well aware of, that I've been enjoying for these past, I'm going to say, a month. I think I've been doing this for about a month. I think that's a good
Right.
solid timeline. Um, it's coming together, but it's coming together in bits and pieces, and I'm getting a little frustrated with that part. But it's mainly because I just haven't had the time to sit and just totally focus, dial in on it, because
Right.
there have been so many other things going on right now. So I'm hoping that with the start of school imminent and establishing a new routine, that things will stabilize and I'll once again be able to um, get to that. So
Right.
fingers crossed on that. We're not here to talk about all that. Oh, I will say really quick though, because we talked about this last time. The
Mhm.
Odyssey, the movie.
Yeah, we've seen
I
it.
want to see it again,
Right.
and I have been waiting for it. And I know it hasn't been out that long, but I'm already scouring to see who's going to get it first. Amazon, Netflix, HBO Max.
Well,
Who's
he
going to get it?
he made the movie with Universal. So who does Universal usually send their
I mean, I
movies to?
see their stuff on all of the platforms.
Yeah.
I mean, my first thought was that it would be on Amazon, but you'd have to pay for it. Do like a rental situation. But I haven't seen it there, and I haven't seen it on Max either. So I just don't know. Like Netflix is normally the last, at least in my previous experience. I haven't had Netflix in several years.
Right.
Um, but in my previous experience, Netflix was the one that was always getting things last. Um, so I don't know if that's changed, whatever. But I'm looking for it. I want to watch it again. I want to be able to reference things while I watch it, look up stuff while I watch it, do that. So it's not necessarily going back to the movie theater to watch it again for me. It's I need to be able to do it where I can also look up stuff that I have questions about and all that. So
According to what I just looked up, it looks like NBC is where it's expected to go. It's not official yet, but expected to go to NBC,
okay,
to Peacock. So
okay. Well, I'll keep checking.
yeah.
But yeah, we're not here to talk about all that. We're here to get into this episode non sequitur, or the what if Harry multiverse episode of Star Trek Voyager. Um, would you like to give the recap, or do you want me to knock it out?
I could do it, I guess. I don't know whose turn it is.
Go
What do
for
you
it.
want? Go for it. All right. Okay. All right. So non sequitur, as Perry just mentioned, is about Harry Kim. The episode opens with Harry Kim overhearing a voice of Janeway trying to beam him somewhere, but he awakens on Earth in San Francisco next to his now fiancee Libby. Turns out he left. He knew her as his girlfriend, but they're actually engaged apparently, because it's the same day. It's the correct date in his mind, but he quickly comes to realize there's something going on. This is a different reality than what he knows. Ultimately, I'm going to go and just jump ahead. Basically, he figures out that this is a version of reality where he did not end up on Voyager. Initially, when he first wakes up and he sees Libby, he doesn't know what's going on, but his friend, Lieutenant Laska, comes and says, "Hey, we got a meeting." Turns out, that Kim is a part of some engineering group on Earth that is creating a new runabout, and he is someone who's critical to this new design. And so he and his friend, Lieutenant Laska, are the ones that are presenting this meeting. It's everyone, his fiance, the local coffee shop guy. Everyone's so excited for him, and his ability in his meeting. But he doesn't know what's going on. He's confused. He doesn't bring his schematics with him to the meeting, so he has to say he's feeling sick and go home. And he starts looking up details about Voyager, because when he first brought Voyager up to Libby, she kind of chastised him because the memorial service was only a couple months ago. But he goes to look up some information about the Voyager and finds out that he didn't get the transfer to the ship in this reality that he's in. Instead, his friend Boyd, a different so we haven't met, but his friend Boyd was the one who ended up getting put on the ship instead. And he also realizes that Tom Paris didn't make it on the ship and is living in France currently. So he goes to France to talk to Tom Paris, and apparently Tom Paris was, given the same opportunity to join Voyager that we saw in the pilot episode. But in the pilot episode, when Quark was trying to sell those crystals that Kim almost bought, turns out Tom was the one who got almost scammed by Quark, but he got into some sort of brawl with Quark, and Odo threw him in the brig, and that meant that he lost his chance to join the Voyager crew. Now, Voyager still disappeared. It still is, it's presumed destroyed, I guess, because there was a memorial service for it. But Tom and Kim were not on the ship in this reality, and so they are living different. Their lives are different. Tom is living in Marseille, France. He is a pool shark, I guess. He has that pool table. He's a bit of a bum, not doing much with his life. But by this point, Kim has figured out that there's something wrong with this reality they're in. And the coffee shop owner reveals to him that the coffee shop owner is a member of some sort of alien species that had something to do with time dilation, sort of time streams that are just out there in the ether somewhere. And something about the shuttlecraft, there was a shuttlecraft accident in the reality that Kim was
Mhm.
from that caused him to jump to this reality. And there's no way to guarantee that he can get back to the reality on the Voyager. And this guy says, "Hey, look, your life is pretty nice. You're engaged. You have a great position. in Starfleet. You're making this new runabout. Like your life is pretty good. Why would you want to go back? And Kim is basically like, well, my friend died. He took my place, or he didn't die exactly. He's the one stuck on Voyager as opposed to me. Um, Basically, life is not going the way it should be in this reality. I have memories of this old reality, and so I belong in that reality, and I need to make my way back to it. His trip to go visit Tom in France has alerted Starfleet to his strange activities, and they basically assume that he is now a contact with the Maquis because that's what got Tom Paris in trouble, and they assume that all of his strange behavior and his meeting with Tom Paris is potentially a leak with the Maquis. So they put a security anklet on him, and he calls for a lawyer, and but he wants to recreate the accident that somehow got to him in this reality. So he wants Tom Paris to help him recreate the accident with the runabout. So he has the new runabout that he's been working on. Tom Paris decides to help him out. He shows up conveniently in time to help him escape a security guy chasing him down once he starts messing with his security anklet. And they get into his offices. They get into the runabout. They take off. They're being chased by another ship, an actual starship that's trying to bring them back. But with some of the new features on this runabout, they're able to keep that other ship off them long enough for Kim to figure out how to recreate whatever accident it was that had changed realities. Tom Paris sacrifices himself, because this Tom Paris does not have memories of what happened. Tom Paris was not in the original accident, so this Tom Paris does not have any memories from the Voyager reality we know, and so only Kim has to be beamed away at the right moment through the transporter, and he ends up back in the reality we're aware of. He gets safely back on Voyager. He, hints to everyone that he knows something happened, and he'll tell more. But he says to Paris that he owes him one as the episode ends. So, yeah, a lot of conveniences in this episode. I'll be frank. Quite the non sequitur to be very real with everyone. So yeah, we'll have a lot to say, but I feel like that was a pretty good recap. Any
No, you're fine.
yeah,
and like I said, as we all know, we're about to go into it in greater detail. And the episode is like 30 years old, so go watch it. Go. Why are you waiting for our recap? Go watch the episode and then
right.
come back and join us for the conversation because that's what we really want you here for. Um, but yeah, now that you've done that, I always like to ask you, since this is your first time having seen any of this, what did you think of the episode?
Well, this is another episode that falls into the timey-wimey
Hmm.
set of episodes, and anyone who's been watching the show for any sort of period of time, whenever you get to a timey-wimey episode, I could be very critical of it. And again, the reason I'm critical is because I love time travel stories, but Star Trek in particular has a habit of making up the rules as the episode goes on. They're not consistent about what time travel means in whatever episode they're in. It's not like from one episode to the next the rules stay the same. It's basically whatever the story requires in order for the time travel to make sense. And in this one, it's pretty thin. There's some sort of weird accident. There's some alien that doesn't even like they don't even give the guy makeup. He's just a human dressed up as a coffee barista, um, who hands him a little like quarter sized or $50 sized data chip to help him figure out his way back. And they're like, I don't know, I can't guarantee you'll get back at the right time. You might end up a billion years into the future or a billion years in the past. But maybe if you
Yeah,
recreate the accident, you'll end up where you're supposed to be. So like, it's the
the
plot
number
is
of
very thin.
times the
Yeah,
number of times that is a solution in Star Trek it makes it its own trope. Oh, you don't know what happened? We'll recreate it, do it
yeah,
all over again, and that should either fix it or and that's it. It
yeah,
either is going to fix it or it's going to make it worse. No in
yeah,
between.
yeah,
No new scenario is going to shoot off anywhere. It's either you're back to where you started and everything's good, or you're dead. And not only
Right.
are you dead, you're like super dead. You're going to be, this time, instead of getting to start over in a what if scenario, you're going to blink yourself out of existence. Are
Yep.
you willing to risk your very existence for this off chance to go to this thing that you have no idea where, or stay here where it's a proverbial paradise?
Right.
It's always presented that way.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of get tired of it because it is always presented that way.
Yeah.
Never once does any crew member who faces the situation, never once do they say, you know what, this is pretty nice, and that is a huge risk to take. I think I will stay here. At least for now. Like, there's
Yeah.
never, they never are like gonna at least try to go with it and adjust. It's no, I'm right. I know I shouldn't be here. I've got to do everything I can to get back to where I belong. I I just don't believe that. You woke up from that nightmare of
Hmm.
potentially being stranded 70 years away from everyone and everything you've ever known and ever loved. You
Right.
wake up and you have a nice apartment. Your fiance is in the shower. You've got this cushy job. Your parents are just a hop, skip, and a jump away. You
Yeah.
know, your favorite coffee shop is ready for you. You're you're good. You're
Right.
golden,
Right.
and you're not willing to give up the off chance to be on a crew with people who are, as far as everyone can tell in this reality, dead, which
Yeah.
is the logical assumption for Starfleet officers in the time. Like, yes, they left Deep Space Nine. They were in the Badlands. They would have like think. I always think about it from that standpoint. Deep Space Nine was probably monitoring them as they monitor a bunch of ships, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden they see a huge energy wave, and the ship they're monitoring seemingly blinks out of existence.
Right.
As far as I'm sure they would have sent a ship, do an investigation. They don't see anything. They just see probably some debris because the ship was hit by this energy wave,
Hmm.
and no other explanation. So they probably would have said, you know what? Based upon the evidence, Voyager was destroyed. Some weird freak accident that happens in the Badlands. We don't understand what the Badlands are. Things happen. Ships have been destroyed here before. So it's logical to assume that's what happened to Voyager. All hands lost.
Yeah.
Sorry. We'll send our condolences, but we're
Right.
done.
Right.
So yeah, you you want to go back to that?
Right. Exactly.
Really?
Yeah. He has no. I mean, I. The episode does give us a Kim that is he has integrity because he wants to, his friend is the one that suffered instead of him, etc. But it doesn't give us any real like Kim is not in any way torn up about, oh my gosh, this is my fiance. My life is wonderful here. I am really having to go back to a crappy situation if I go ahead with this, but I feel called. Like he doesn't do any of that. He's just like, nope, I got to go back
Right.
and
And I mean, that whole, like, he's got, I have a problem with the whole he's got integrity thing only because, you know, he could sit there and say, "Oh, it's my destiny to be on that ship or whatever."
right.
But I mean, how do you know that for sure? How do you know your destiny isn't that you now have knowledge of the ship and now
Right.
you're in the perfect position to develop the necessary communication and technology to bring
Yeah.
Voyager home sooner?
Right.
You
Right.
are the golden child ensign in charge of this experimental technology propulsion shuttle project. Seems to
Right.
me like you are precisely set up to be the one to be like, you know what? I'm not giving up on Voyager. I know that it's out there. I'm going to help bring them home.
Right. Right.
That could have
Yeah.
been your legacy.
There's always a moment in every story like this where a character goes back in time or something, and they are reluctant or cautious to tell people about you know the reality they're from. Like, this isn't what I remember. This is not like this is I'm from the future or something. My only problem though is that, I mean, we've had enough timey wimey stuff that in, for example, Deep Space Nine, we find out that there's a whole like section of Starfleet dedicated to, like, I don't know, those two officer guys come along and like question.
Yes, the temporal officers who are
Yeah,
trying to protect the temporal prime directive.
right.
That's their
And
whole thing.
And so I imagine that episode, when you compare it to this, Voyager episode, is actually further on. Like that Deep Space Nine episode is a few years out, but it still brings up a point of haven't hasn't Star Trek like figured out? I mean, again, the future episode will say that they have, but like, is there no protocol for him being able to say like, "Hey, I have information from a different reality. Like, I
I
need to
mean,
tell someone something."
so
Uh,
yeah, and that's one of the things with it's one of the things about Star Trek that I have come to appreciate to a certain degree, and it's that they did do a lot of time hopping. Throughout all the various franchises, they've all done their fair share of time hopping. Some a little bit more than others, but still, they all do it. But one thing that was an outgrowth of all that time hopping was the time cops that show up, who are there to, we become aware of a thing called the temporal prime directive. We know what the prime directive is. Now we have a temporal version of that. Hey, don't go messing up the timeline, and then it's their job to intervene and stop officers from doing so. Um, the fact that these officers don't show up, that could be explained away with the fact that this was also something that was done to Harry by these weird aliens that we don't know
well,
anything
that
about, and also we never hear of again. They
right,
give us the most bland, basic, boring, blase explanation for why they've done what they've
yes,
done, and they never fully reveal themselves. And if you're
right.
so powerful that you've basically cracked open the multiverse to give this man another shot at a different life, you tell me you can't send him back to where he wants to go?
Right,
That doesn't
and
make any sense.
well, and then the guy's all like, "Well, maybe this is your destiny to be here," or or what does he say? Like, this is, um, I forget what he says exactly, but he basically is all like trying to tell him all the benefits of this reality, and like, if you need me, I'll be over here making coffee. It's like this alien apparently, and he says it like his whole purpose is somehow to like keep an eye on this new version of Kim.
Yeah, because
Like,
they're like, we recognize this was our fault to a certain degree. You wouldn't have had
right,
the accident you had if we hadn't been wherever. So, as our way of making amends, we've set you up with this cushy whatever. I would have been more on Kim's side if they
right,
had made it sound like what we've created for you is artificial.
right,
But they didn't do that. They were like, no, what we did was we saved you by plucking you from that timeline and we put you in another one.
right.
So now that, so again, that's your life, Harry. That
Yeah,
is your life. It's not a artificial, you're in a domed, like Truman Show
right.
environment.
Or this isn't a hollow suite going
Right,
awry.
an elaborate holodeck that you're,
Yeah,
playing out a fantasy on.
yeah,
This literally is your life. You are in a different timeline entirely.
right,
So you being so dedicated to getting back to the other one does not make a whole lot of sense. But also the aliens don't make a lot of sense. You plucked him out of a whole different time stream and dropped him off over here, and you can't do it again.
right. And the idea that he has to recreate the accident when it's not even the same type of runabout, it's in a different part of
It's a
space.
different price space,
It's
different runabout, different energy requirements, different
yeah,
people are going to be involved,
yeah,
different origin points. Like all of it is different. I mean, so is it that you really need him to recreate the accident, or do you need the energy? Maybe like if there had been a little bit more thought into that of we can't do it because you gave us what we needed to do it when your ship exploded, and that excess energy allowed us to give you the jump, and we just
right,
jumped you one space over. It
right,
wasn't a cosmic rearranging and all this stuff. It was again multiverse. You just skipped one,
right.
so we just need you to give us another big old explosion and we'll skip you back. But no, we don't get, there's nothing to it. And then,
Yeah,
like I said, the aliens, we never get a full reveal of who they are, what they're
yeah,
about, why they suddenly took an interest in doing this for Harry. I mean, why not just let him die?
right,
Why did you decide to pluck him out of the whatever? He should have ended in that
right.
timeline. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then we never see. I'm telling you, spoiler. We never see or hear from
Oh,
those
I don't
aliens
doubt it
ever again.
because the idea that he's just now a human barista who knows that he likes a Vulcan mocha extra sweet, like that's what you've learned about Kim is he likes his
That's
coffee
always
a certain way.
that's
Like,
another that's another one of those omnipotent being things that all science fiction loves to do.
yeah,
They get these all powerful beings that become so obsessed with our quote unquote human character.
right,
And then it's like, you don't want to know about the human's innermost thoughts and feelings and how they view the world that they're in and the complexities of the world and the environment and how they shape it and change it and how it shapes and changes them. No, you are they're always interested in the most mundane things. Hey, do y'all still use rubber ducks when you shower? Like, what was that about?
yeah,
Oh, let me make sure I get your coffee order right because I am this massive cosmic energy being and I need to understand why you like a Vulcan macchiato over an Andorian macchiato.
yeah,
It's so because I guess supposed to make us think that, oh, they're just so advanced and beyond anything we can conceive of, that these are the things that are important. No, it's dumb.
right.
It's dumb, lazy writing.
And what's the
That's
Deep
what it
Space
is.
Nine episode of Aractogeno? Why not Aractogeno? Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it sounds like everybody's got their own version of coffee. Why not just straight up coffee? You're from Earth, drink
yeah,
coffee. Your captain drinks coffee. Why wouldn't you take after your captain and drink coffee? Why are you drinking Vulcan macchiatos?
yeah,
Why not Endorian? Why not Tellarite? Why not a human macchiato for that? Like, there are so many varieties of things that they could be stuck on
right,
that could go forever into
right,
minutia that mean nothing.
right. Well, and
So,
I mean,
yeah.
as you point all that out, this would be a great episode. I mean, there would be a problem of overuse of the character. And I know that Q does show up, as you said, on Voyager at some point. But like,
Mhm.
this would be a fun little Q episode. Kim is feeling, sorry for himself or something in his off in his offices or his room. There we go. Sorry. And like Q overhears him and says, "Well, let's see what would have happened and give you a chance." And like send him back. And like that's the whole like that's anytime those types of story happens, I mean, it's the Christmas Carol, it's the butterfly effect. Those stories are always about what could have life been if but for one thing, and
Mhm.
then the character realizes that they need to go back for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's not like Voyager itself was desperately in need of Kim to come back. There was no existential crisis that his absence therefore destroys the Voyager. As far as we know,
As far
this
as we
bird
know, because I mean, this
character,
is also season 2. We don't really yet know the importance of Harry Kim, and
right,
they don't do anything to allude that we must get Harry back because
right,
he does play a pivotal role in the future. Like, they could
yes,
have set us up with that, a reason to anticipate, a reason to tune back in. When is Harry's moment gonna come? We know
right,
now that he has to fulfill some kind of destiny on Voyager. You know, no,
yep,
nothing. There was it's the weirdest way to use time travel because it does nothing on both ends.
right, exactly,
Our character doesn't really change or have any particular growth. He doesn't have a newfound appreciation for old friends. They're all new to each other. He had just transferred to Voyager. It wasn't like he'd been serving in the trenches with Janeway and Chakotay for the past 8 years, and
right,
suddenly he was getting this weird do-over and felt so compelled to
yeah,
go back to his friends. They'd known these
right.
people for a glorified month. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't make sense. That's the non sequitur. The whole
Yeah,
episode doesn't work.
yeah. I have to say that the title of this episode is actually, unfortunately, very on the nose because a non sequitur, just for anyone who's curious, is according to Google here, a statement or conclusion that does not follow a logical pattern from the text, conversation, or proof that came before it. So it basically means, this thing you're talking about, it has nothing to do with something else. You're literally changing the subject away from whatever it was, and so that's what this
That's
feels like.
yeah,
This
that's pretty
episode,
much the whole episode.
Yeah.
Every part of it, even when you try to break it apart and look at the various segments of it, it still doesn't work. Like, let's start with Harry and his fiancee Libby. When he was on Voyager and got separated, she was just his girlfriend. They were not yet engaged. So
Right.
this episode propelled him forward into a relationship that he had not actually committed to.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's another thing that makes, so like, even their attempt to ground us in this, oh well, at least he's got Libby, makes no sense because even the character has
Yeah.
not committed to that
And
level
that's
with
also a
her
great
yet.
point because yeah, Kim has been moved to this new reality. But this is the same question that these stories always have: is like, well, what happened to the version of him that was in this reality? You know, is
Yeah,
like is the Kim that got engaged, has he switched places with our Kim, and like,
which
or
we
is
know
he
didn't
having
happen because he said that when he looked up the Voyager crew, there was a totally different person serving in that role. So that means that the Harry Kim of this particular multiverse was skipped over to another one. So you have
right,
really two options. That Kim is either A, took the place of our Harry Kim and
right,
died in the
right,
shuttle accident, or B, he went to yet another multiverse, kicking
yeah,
another Kim out, and now there's
an
just
infinite
Kim's
bump.
being kicked out, right, in infinitum of their lives because of these aliens mucking about with time streams,
Yeah,
and they wouldn't put him back, and that's why they wouldn't do it, because it's like, oh, well, if you do it for him, we gotta do it for everybody.
yeah,
Well, you shouldn't have done it in the first place. You should have let him die. You should have let him die. That was
yeah.
his end in this time stream.
So
So
Perry, I just want to say that us talking about this, the kicking of one guy into a new reality, then kicking out that guy to a different reality because they're displacing everybody. There is a thought, a intellectual question, one of those theoretical, brain teasers you can look up on YouTube. It's about what if you had a hotel that had an infinite number of rooms with an infinite number of guests? How do you assign them rooms? It's a weird thing. I don't know how I ended up watching this, but yeah, whole idea is like how do you assign a room to an infinite number of people if you have an infinite number of rooms? And there's people have come up with weird solutions, like basically just kick out every other person so that everyone has to. I don't know. I don't even know why it's a problem, but this just
yeah,
reminds me of the infinite bumping of rooms in this
I
infinite
mean,
hotel question.
that's literally what it would be if what's implied in the episode is correct, then that's basically what they're doing forever. And maybe again, that's why they were like, you've got to recreate the accident, because that would also, not only would that send you back to where you belong, but it would interrupt that process. You would basically
Right.
be taking the pressure off of us to have to do this again and again and again and again and again,
Yeah.
which I would have appreciated if someone had thought this through
Right.
and given that as an explanation. Now, I will say, as I'm so fond of saying, this was the mid 90s, and the mid 90s is full of half baked ideas, especially in sci-fi, because this is the only thing that I've ever come across that makes any sense to me. I truly believe that a lot of people who wrote for shows in that early to mid 90s time span, so I'm going to say from, and I know that it sounds weird, but I'm going to include it, from 1989 to 1997,
Uh,
that block of programming, I honestly believe anybody who wrote and produced during that time did not think that these products would ever see the light of day again. They thought
yeah,
this
yeah,
was a one-shot broadcast. We don't care totally what it's about. We just
right,
need this to fill the space, hit the ratings mark, make us the money, and then we're moving on. We got bigger and better things planned down the road that'll become our signatures, our masterpieces, or whatever. But we need this to generate the revenue to get us there.
right,
And that was the whole thought. And now we have conventions, and we've got CDs and DVDs and streaming, and all these endless rewatches, and people, and it's 30 years later, and people can really sit and go, that episode that I thought was really cool when I was 11, now that I'm 40,
hmm
it's terrible.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm going through now. I am the boy at 11 that was watching this, and now looking back, I'm like, hey, you know what? Now that I've grown up and experienced life and learned how to read, and I've read other stories, other styles, what you're presenting here makes no sense.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, so so now let's shift gears a little bit. Now that I feel like I've kind of beat up on the episode, um, what were some things that you found cool or interesting in general about this episode?
Yeah, that's fair. What works? I like the idea that he's engaged, so we get to see this relationship that he is missing out on. I don't think they did a great job of. He didn't do enough as a the character didn't do enough to like regret the fact that he would have to like give up this relationship. He didn't express to her, "Oh, I'm so lonely without you in this, hellscape of being, 75 light years away from you." Um,
75,000.
yeah, well, I mean, 75 years, just like 75 years away from being back on in the Alpha Quadrant. Whatever. Point is that he doesn't express much sorrow over losing what he has been given. Like, oh, if the coffee man was correct, this is actually a pretty good reality to have been kicked back into. um so he doesn't do enough to regret it, but I mean, we have a character who like says she loves him, and they seem to be in love, or at least she's in love. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that's another
like.
part of it that didn't play off very well, in my opinion. She seemed very devoted,
Right.
and
Well, I
he
mean,
was very cold.
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say it this way. The actor who plays Harry Kim,
Garrett Wang.
Garrett Wang, he's not the best actor, unfortunately. Uh, Neither is.
And real quick, in Garrett's defense, he was rather new,
Sure.
and this was kind of a big break with him being in a more starring recurring role.
Oh,
Being a main cast member on Star Trek was a big deal. You
oh,
knew that you were
100%.
gonna, unless something catastrophic happened in your contract or whatever, you knew you were signed on for the long haul and that you were gonna be in pretty much every episode.
Yeah, and Robert Duncan McNeil, who plays Paris, he's also not the best either.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I, again, I always hate just hating on episodes. I hate to just be
Yeah, no,
negative
yeah.
Nancy all the time or something. But I don't know. I guess this episode kind of deserves it.
It's very hard. I will say one of the things that I enjoyed a lot about the episode was the kind of B plot, I guess is the best way to think about it, and that's with Harry being in charge of this shuttlecraft design.
Sure.
I've always found the shuttlecrafts to be very interesting secondary vehicle in Star Trek. I really loved how they went away from that big box which did the original series and gave us
Uh,
something that was more powerful and sleeker in the runabouts that we see a lot on Deep Space Nine.
right.
And I like those because they're the runabouts the way they're described. They're ships. They're
Right.
and you instead of a crew comp 100 or whatever it is,
Like
like 6 to 8
4.
people,
Right.
right? But it can also be run with just
Right.
so. And I mean, they have quarters. They've got there's a mini a little whatever however you want to plug you need for your um, or at least for your shuttle. I really around and for designing them.
Right. Right.